and therefore start off cholera elimination. Your health is your wealth.
The Link.
Food is the most important medicine that every human being must get access to.
The Link.
75% of Francophone are in Africa. Africa is very important to the French and the Francophone community.
The Link.
7th priority is expansion of health insurance coverage and social health protection.
The Link on UBC Radio, connecting you to the world of information. It's hot.
We passed it. We didn't know exactly what the problem was on the ground. There is no pretending about the effect of this thing. There's no pretending about it. Nobody showed. It's a problem.
It's balanced.
This is not the stage at which you start planning to tax a commodity like coffee, especially from down there.
It's intellectually engaging.
The Constitution provides that the land must be registered under the customer service system, which is one of those that's recognized by the Constitution.
Ground Zero Season 2, live and syndicated on your public and national broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Welcome to Ground Zero Season 2, a show that brings you in-depth discussion ranging from politics, health, finance, sports, and so much more. Ground Zero Season 2.
Hello dear listener, welcome to this edition of UBC Ground Zero. I'm Paide Amunotega is my name, and we are live and clear on 4 radio stations. On 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. We're live and clear on UBC Radio and all other platforms of UBC Radio. We're also live and clear on Magic 100 FM. We are also live and clear on Butebo Radio, covering all parts of eastern Uganda. And we're also live and clear on Western Nile Radio, covering actually sub-region, Lango sub-region, Teso sub-region, Karamoja sub-region, and all parts of Western Nile. We're also streaming live on YouTube. In case you want to see or watch us live, you just go to YouTube and type in UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of this very conversation. We have a very big privilege and honor to have a special team of guests in the studios of UBC who are going to be educating, informing, and inspiring us as the people of Uganda. We have a very big privilege and honor to have women who have served this country in different capacities. And we're going to be talking about gender-based violence. You know, we're about to start 16 days of activism where we talk about gender-based violence, where we talk about child neglect, and we talk about a number of issues that are affecting the people of Uganda, the people of Africa. And in today's Ground Zero, we're going to look at wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda. And we're saying what happens when someone gets into the skin of another skin to kill, to torture, to humiliate, to demean, to deform, to fight, to assault, to violate another one, up to the time of killing. Do they undress or remove this human face and put on a wild one? We're going to look into details, and we have experts in this. We have a police officer, we have a legal officer, and we have leaders who are going to be joining us. And we also have a very big privilege and honor to have also psychologists who are going to be also educating us on what happens by the time two people choose violence. We have a big privilege and honor to have Assistant Senior ASP Kwagala Anet, coming from Jinja Road Police Station. Warm welcome to this edition of UBC Ground Zero, Afande.
Thank you very much. This is ASP Kwagala Anet, OCCFPU Child and Family Protection Unit, Jinja Road. I'm so happy to be on Ground Zero Radio, and it is a privilege that we are going to share a lot more about domestic violence and child protection in general. Thank you.
Interesting. And we also have Rona Nagawa, who is the legal officer from Women's Pro Bono Initiative. Warm welcome to this edition of UBC Ground Zero.
Thank you so much, Amon. Once again, I'm Lona Nagawa, a legal officer at the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, an organization that advocates for women's rights. Thank you.
Interesting. You've heard from my guests in the studios of UBC. I have ladies in the studios of UBC, and most people think that when we talk about gender-based violence, the ladies, females, who are always affected. And but the other school of thought says that also when we talk about gender-based violence, also men are affected in one way or the other. We're going to see this in details, and later on we're going to be joined by a psychologist, Brian Alneito is a senior psychologist who is going to be telling us what really happens when someone chooses violence, what enters into their minds and brains, what actions should we take, and how best can we tell that this person is out of control. Maybe we should take other actions. We're also going to be joined by our senior leader, who is the Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, who is the RDC of Bongi District. You know, Bongi District, for those of you who don't know, Bongi District was carved out of Moi District, which is one of the great places in northern Uganda. And we'll have to see or know what really happens in the outskirts or the other places which we call the rural settings or the villages. Let me start with you, Afande. Take us through gender-based violence. What do we mean when we talk about gender-based violence? What is what are the statistics? What are the numbers? When it comes to police, how many cases do you receive on a daily or weekly, monthly, and how many cases do we get in a year? Is this worrying us as a country, or it is something that we have managed as a country and also police?
Thank you very much. Our listeners, I want us to understand what is gender-based violence, because most people think that when you talk about gender-based violence, it's about women, but that is not the case. It is women and men, girls and boys, so it covers all of us. Gender-based violence is any pain, any emotional stress that is caused either to a man or to a woman, to a girl child, or to a boy child. And there are so many various ways where gender-based violence is manifested. It can either be physical, where a woman beats up the husband or any family members, or the man beats up the woman, the pulling, the cutting. We've seen so many cases where women really also beat up their husbands, though most of them, they don't want to come out
to disclose
and report because of the stereotype. How can a man come out to report that my wife beat me? To them, it's a shaming, but it is happening. It happens. Men are also being tortured. Men are being beaten. They are emotionally tortured. So it is all across. Though, when you look at the statistics, it's basically women who are highly facing the gender-based violence. They are the ones who are suffering much more than the men, which is not really good, because I don't think it is proper, you're a man, to think that because you are a man, you are muscular, you have the energy, that's the only option that you can resort to in case of any misunderstanding is the beating, is the cutting, chasing away your wife. It does not really sound so good. it is caused, there are so many other various ways that we can deal with the violence, whether it's caused by the woman, caused by any family members, caused by the husband, than resorting to the unfair treatment in the way of seeking for justice, self-justice. That is physical, and in most cases, actually, people, we look at physical much more because it is more visible. You see someone is beaten, someone is bleeding, someone is swollen, the eyes are swollen, the lips are swollen because of the blows, the beatings. It shows. Actually, that's why we look at women as the most group that suffer gender-based violence. But we also have the emotional part of it. And actually, most men suffer the emotional violence. How? These are men who are being abused by their wives. These are men who are being denied food in the home. These are men who are being denied their conjugal rights, and they are really suffering inside. They are bleeding, but they cannot come out and say, you know what, ABCD is happening. At home, my wife is treating me like this and this. When I come back late, she does not open the house for me. I have to look for other means of sleeping. All that is domestic violence. And men suffer more of the emotional than the physical. Okay. I think since women are generally weaker, for them they cannot fight physically, so they resort to the emotional violence. You beat the woman in the morning, in the evening you say, okay, I will not open the house for you. So you find that the man is suffering emotionally, and then the woman is suffering physically. All right. And it all results into unstable marriage, unstable family. The children actually suffer the more because of the two people, the husband and the wife. The fights in the home, it is the children. That's why when we are talking about
we're going to look into the impact
children,
and the effects
when we talk about gender-based violence, we cannot leave children aside, because at the end of the day, they are the product that suffer most. Okay,
we're going to look into the effects and the impact of that later on. I would love to have Lorna tell us in the understanding of gender-based violence, especially in their line of work as lawyers, and what transpires and how many cases they have been handling. How big is the case on their table? Rona.
Thank you so much, Amon. I actually want to applaud you for choosing a timely topic, as we looking at the 16 days of activism and violence. So we are creating more the awareness we can around gender-based violence. Now, maybe to add my voice to what Afande here says about domestic violence. In Uganda, we have a Domestic Violence Act. It was passed in 2010, and it gives various types of domestic violence. She has explained physical and emotional, but there's also one that I want to point out to our listeners, which is the economic abuse and financial abuse. Usually we have cases of women, he does not take care of us, he leaves 2,000 and he expects to find chicken on the table for dinner. So all that is economic violence. We also have women that have been denied sources of income by their husband, have been denied to do meaningful work. She is compelled to stay at home to only do the domestic care work, and all that is economic abuse, which falls under domestic violence. Now, as the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, we do legal advocacy, and we give legal advice for in such cases of domestic violence. But one thing I should say is we still have very high numbers, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. It affected us so much, and well, its effects are still living with us. So in there we have a lot of women that have been denied work, a lot of women that have been abandoned by their husbands. But also, I also want to point out to our listeners that we also have very many teenage mothers, and all this of course is under domestic violence because they've been sexually abused. So we have a lot of teenage mothers, and if I'm to probably point out to my statistics, and generally in Uganda we have 56% of married women who have suffered physical and sexual abuse. This includes marital rape, this includes uncles raping daughters, all those cases. So that's how prevalent it is, and that is how big our workload is. Thank you.
How have you been able to help these women that have been affected by gender-based violence?
One of the things that we do, as I mentioned earlier, is provision of legal services, because we are an organization of lawyers. So one thing we do when we get such a client...
Free services?
Yes. Actually, the word pro bono in Women's Pro Bono Initiative is free. We provide free legal services to women. So one thing that we do once we get such a case on a table, we give this person confidence, because I don't know, we're still in a very gender stereotyping society where when a woman goes to report, blame is obviously put on a woman. Like, he beat me, you are abusing him. He beat me, you are doing something. So we realize that women are still marginalized. So we give this lady the confidence and hope in a legal system that she can find legal remedies, so that way she is able to file a case. Now, once a case is filed, domestic violence has been criminalized under Section 4 of the Domestic Violence Act. So once the case has been filed, then we follow up to make sure that prosecution is made, necessary arrests are made, and then also we have cases where we've obtained maintenance orders for some of these women. For example, fathers that have left their families, the children have no one to take care of them. There is a legal process where we can attain a maintenance order to compel you to take care of your family. So that's some of the work that we've done on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, I will get back to you in regard to opting for peaceful means before you take a legal means or processes. Or once a person comes to you, you automatically go to court. I will get back to you on that. Afande, why two of you just mentioned that women are the most affected, and it is true that they are most vulnerable when we talk about gender-based violence. But why is it that women are the most vulnerable? Is it because men are so superior? Is it because it is always female who actually initiate these conflicts, and they end up being beaten or violated, and one would say they reap what they sow?
Not really. That they are the cause.
Most times, and most of the cases, they report that women are actually the ones who initiate these conflicts.
I can't agree with you that normally it's women who initiate the conflict. I think it's just the lack of mutual understanding in the home. The lack of mutual understanding in the home that caused the violence. But as we've said, that mostly women suffer the violence. There is a way men take themselves. I can say the ego. And people mistake the word bride price, I think. That when they have paid you off, your parents, they have gone and paid the cows, the goats, so you have now become a property. a man is free to do whatever he wants with you. If he feels like beating, then you should beat. If he feels that you should not work, then you should sit down. Even when you have really gone to school, you've got your papers, chances are there for you to work, but a man wants you to sit. So when you come out to, defend your rights and want to share with him, again, he turns it the other way around of the violence. And as I earlier said, men are also violated, only that they do not come out to report. That's why we have a very big number of the domestic violence on the side of the women being the biggest number of people who are suffering than the men, because for them, they are empowered to come out. Their voices are easily heard because they come out so fast. They come out so fast. In that, even when a man says, I will beat you, this woman will come out and say, yesterday we had ABCD and my husband said that he will beat me, so I am scared. I am scared. Unlike the men. So you find that the numbers of men are lesser than the numbers of women, but it does not mean that it is us women or it is the women out there that initiate the violence.
But once a man, we have, as you rightly put it, that men are muscular, men are superior, they have this ego, and as a woman, once I realize that he is taking that position, he's violent, I can choose peace. Either leave him in the room, on the sitting room, or in the bedroom, or I can choose to keep quiet if my words are the ones irritating or bringing this kind of conflict. The reason is why the women cause more of these conflicts, because they have more options of choosing peace, and men perhaps would respond in a peaceful manner.
That applies to both sides. It's not only the woman to choose the peace. Even you, the man, you can choose the peace, because not only men that not only men that are violent or that resort to the unfair way of resorting things, but even women. There are women who are naturally quarrelsome. So if you get to understand the kind of a woman you have, so when she starts the quarrels, can't a man really create peace and move away? I don't think it's only the woman to create the space. Even you, the man, create that space. If you see a woman is angered, can you create the space so that by the time you come back, this woman has cooled down?
Most times they say we cannot, when women opt for psychological torture because they are not physically fit, even when you try to leave, she would make sure that you are provoked not to leave.
Amon, I hope I.
You know what I mean
when
women choose psychological torture, psychological fights.
Yes, but one thing I think that is important for us to understand is when our constitution talks about marriage and a domestic family setting, it talks about equal rights at the beginning, during the marriage, and its dissolution. So when we're talking about the substances of a marriage, we are looking at equal rights, both parties being equal. There is no party that is subservient to the other. In other words, why is it that you expect me to move away, you expect me to keep quiet, but again you will not? That is not fair, because as grown-ups we need to respect each other. And secondly, even with the significant achievements that we've made in the women's rights movement, we still have gender stereotyping that is still living with us. We all seem to believe that it is the
society.
woman. Yes, we all seem to believe it is the woman, that she's initiating, she's not following up. But do you know how many nights that lady has had to go without a decent meal? She's economically abused. We also have circumstances where our husbands take more shares of a drink. They drink a lot, and then such a person is not in their right state of mind.
I'm not really against equal opportunities. I'm not against us becoming the same, enjoying same rights. But we also know that as a man, I am a head of a family. Even it is biblical for those who believe in the Bible. Christ is the head of church. Church is the head of man. Man is the head of family. And the family, I'm talking about the kids and you, the woman. You're supposed to be responsible. You're supposed to be under me, and you must take my orders because I am the head. But once we bring in this concept of we are equal in this home, in this family, in this, that's where the problem perhaps comes from.
Well, Amon.
We also believe in the school of thought that in a home there must be a head and there must be someone who is supposed to be taking orders from the other.
I would first want to make reference to the very Bible that you just quoted. Yes, the Bible, and in law, that is it is almost a naturalistic school of thought, like we believing in biblical principle and things of that sort. Yes, it talks about the wife being submissive and the man is the head. But again, it also talks about a man loving his wife.
I love you.
For something that you love, do you?
By the time I married you, I really
harass
loved
something
you.
That you love?
Not really.
Exactly. So this is what I'm talking about. When you love someone, you will not harass them. When I respect you, I will not harass you. That is why it is two parties to both play in this whole situation.
Women talk about equality when we come to other affairs, but when it is economic equality, you tend to withdraw all your energies and efforts.
Well,
why are you impartial when it comes to economic equality?
No, we're not. If
we are equal, let's provide equally to the home. If anything happens at home, let you take control as security. But if something knocks on the door, you will go behind me and you say, I had someone on the gate on the door. That means you have realized the power that in me. And once you try to force me the other way around negatively, I'll bring out this man in me. And to show that I am a man, perhaps I will resort to violence. Not that I intended, but you are the one who provoked me.
Thank you. Let me take a little bit back to the statement that you have just made, that a man is the head of the family. Indeed.
But also, ladies, you want to take this leadership.
It really sounds so good if it was actual on the ground. But these days, it's not the case. Because men have ignored their responsibilities. And it's the responsibility that makes you the head of the family. The responsibility you hold in the home, it is what makes you to be the head of the family. If you cannot provide, it's the woman providing. You can't pay school fees. You can't even parent. You can't buy food. Now, how are you going to call yourself the head of the family, really? So, some men, I can't say that all men, but some men have ignored their responsibilities, and it has forced the women to stand in their shoes, to come and, take up all the responsibilities. If it's the woman doing everything, she pays the rent, she buys the food, she pays the fees, she has to go and work. Now, a woman has gone to work. She has come back at 10 p.m. And then you're going to start questioning, where have you been up to this time? What do you expect to earn answers from that woman? And she has been there outside.
I expect you to say, my husband, I was busy, I was caught in a jam, and then you talk to me, in a peaceful way and respectful manner.
And
but once I ask you, where have you been? And you say, any other statement that really is provoking, then I would want to show you that I'm a head of this family.
Now, yes, you are the head. I've left you home since morning. You're sleeping. A week goes, a month goes, 2 months. Now I'm the actual, in actual sense, I have become the head of the what? Of the family, because of the responsibilities that I am meeting. And you the husband, now you have become a baby that I have to take care of you. Now, really, you question this woman, where have you been? Why have you come late? This is a woman who is very tired, and even by the way, the timing of asking those questions, I think, also matters. I've just come back, I'm even tired, I was hustling, again, not even a welcome. The first question, where have you been? You've been with your men, blah, blah, blah. Now, really, what do you expect this woman? I'm not saying that women should really be not respectful to their husbands. They must be, because as you say, the Bible says women are supposed to be submissive to their husbands. But that submissiveness also comes with the love from the man. If you've not shown the love, if you've not shown the care, automatically this woman might not be submissive. Because if you're not supporting, you can't buy her dress, you can't, give her 10,000 for hair, she has to hustle. So how is she going to really be submissive to you?
By the time you married to me, you know my economic status, and once I don't provide certain things, you should really take it easy.
Yeah, if you can't,
but
if you can't
ask for 20, if you can't,
put the beans on the table.
If you ask for 20 or 50,000 for your hair, and I say maybe you wait for next week, and for you take it personal.
Next week, now it becomes a month, 2 months, and then a year. Anyway, it's all about knowing our responsibilities.
Rona, peaceful means before you take legal processes, legal means. If a lady comes to you, I was tortured, I was violated, I was beaten, I was harassed and demeaned, do you always take the first steps of knowing what really took place between these two people, or immediately when you receive such a case you see an opportunity on the table and then you rush to court?
Thank you, Amon. So I'll start with saying that this depends. Circumstances around every case are different, but usually once a woman gets to the point of, let me see a lawyer, she is tired. She has tried everything. She has tried negotiation, arbitration, family meetings, tricking him, loving him, giving birth to children, because we also know that we have women, anytime they get a marital conflict, or maybe he wants to marry another woman, she gives birth, birth is her mechanism to have the man stay around. But usually once someone gets to the point of involving legal technicalities and advice, then all these other means have failed. And also when we report these cases, police stations have child welfare, family and welfare officers, and these are the people that inquire into these matters. So usually, yes, the peaceful means will be there, but often they are abused, which leaves us with no other option other than pursuing the legal remedies.
This is UBC Ground Zero, and we are live and clear on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. We are talking about wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda, and we have a privilege and honor to have ASP Kwagala Annette as the CFPO. We are coming from Jinja Road Police Station, and we have Lona Nagawa is the legal officer coming from Women's Pro Bono Initiative. What do you think needs to be done to reduce gender-based violence? What are the other forms that we can address as a country? What should be the solutions to this very big problem? How can we bring peace within our homes, our marriages, and also in our communities? 0776-511-426 is the number that you're going to call and raise your concerns, or send your messages on 0701 24 47. We are streaming live on YouTube. In case you want to see my guests in the studios or watch them live, you just enter UBC Ground Zero and you'll be able to watch them live. And we're also live and clear on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. After this break, I'll be receiving some calls and reading your messages, so keep them coming through. I see George, Ben, and Lynette. I'll be reading these messages when I come back, and we're going to be engaging the psychologist, and we also have Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, the RDC of Obangi district. This is UBC. I pray you don't go away. We're coming back in just a bit.
This is Ground Zero Season 2. Stay tuned. We shall be right back.
Don't miss UBC Radio Ground Zero every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We host credible and relevant guests to discuss pertinent issues of national importance aimed at addressing people's concerns.
As a country, if we don't fight this vice of corruption seriously and with honest opinion without any bias, things will not be good for us.
UBC Radio Ground Zero, right here on UBC Radio.
UBC, ensure that the information you give out is factual but also objective, balanced, and complies with the legal and policy requirements for the media.
Ground Zero program is always live, loud and clear, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on UBC Radio, Butebo FM, West Nile FM, and Magic 100 FM, and live stream on YouTube. You can also listen to the repeated broadcast of UBC Ground Zero every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. UBC Radio, inspiring Uganda.
Are you a Ugandan earning below 1 million shillings per year? Government of Uganda is strategically putting PDM for you to get you out of poverty. PDM is an initiative of the Government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform the lives of all Ugandans for better.
Get to know more about PDM in your parish by tuning in. We bring you experts to explain, clarify, educate, and interact with you on how to benefit from PDM.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life. UBC Radios, inspiring Uganda. PDM.
Welcome back. Ground Zero Season 2 continues.
Welcome back from that very short break. This is UBC Ground Zero, and we're broadcasting live on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. We are live and clear on UBC Radio in on 98.0 FM in Kampala, and if you are in Arua, we are 97.4 FM. If we are in Butebo, we are on Butebo Radio. In Mbale, 96.9 FM. In Soroti, we're 98.4 FM. In Arua, we're 95.5 FM. And we're also live and clear on West Nile Radio on 98.0 FM. And we're also live and clear on Magic 100 FM. Ampere Amon Butego is my name. The topic today, wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda. We have Rona Nagawa, the legal officer, coming from a Women's Pro Bono Initiative, and we also have ASP Kwagala Anet, SCF Ginger Road Police Station, and we're going to be joined by Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, the RDC of Obangi District, and also Alnaito Brand, the psychologist. Keep your messages coming through on 0701 24 26 47 or call us on 0776 511 426 and you'll be part of this conversation. Forms of gender-based violence, we have looked at a number of them, and we also looked at the causes. We have Brian.
Yes, hello, Amon, yes.
You are live and clear on 4 radio stations covering entire Uganda. This is UBC Ground Zero.
Yes.
We are talking about gender-based violence, wearing a human face.
Yes.
You're getting us?
Very well.
Wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda. We have rising cases of gender-based violence. We have a number of forms of gender-based violence. This case is increasing day by day, regardless of the efforts that we've put. Killings, torture, divorce, and also children are the most affected when we talk about GBV. As a psychologist, would love us, you to help us enter into the brain of that person who opts for violence than peace. What really happens?
Okay. Thank you so much, the moderator of this program at UBC. I want to thank you for considering my input in the efforts you are trying to put to address violence within families, in society, and in the country at large. I want to also thank the people in the studio who have been following up. Everything that has been said is real, is true, but like you have said, you want to indulge into the mind of the violent and the co-violent. Listeners of UBC, I need to bring to your attention that everybody or everyone is liable to violence, depending on the mood and depending on the level of provocation. But also, violence is not only fighting or pushing or running away. Some people can be violent but silent. I heard you saying that women prefer to psychological torture. That is psychological provocation. It could be true or not true, but there are actually three major things I would like us to look at in this, on this topic, wearing a human face. Humans are like weather. They change every time, anytime, any moment, depending on the nature. There are two things which are beneath that, nature and nurture. Amon and listeners, the way you were born and raised defines on how you are going to on how you are going to live with other people. The nature of the job you are doing and the nature of the society you are operating from also determines on the kind of life that you are living. Then we also have types of people. There's what we call introverts, there's what we call extroverts. There are people who like many words, talking. There are those who don't like talking. Now, if those two people pair, even what seems not to be violence but character is defined as violence. For example, we also look at culture. In Western Uganda, you have people who perceive that some people in Northern Uganda, when they are talking, for them, they see them as people who are almost about to fight. I hope you've come across such a situation, Amon.
Yeah, sure.
We also have that culture. Then there is also this issue of love. There are some love situations which are violent, that someone will only feel loved when you are pushing him or her on the wall each and every time. There are those who like quarreling, and that's how they feel love. There are those who feel, there are some people who feel who want to be punished, and that's when they, but if I do something and you are just quiet about it, it simply means you don't care about me, you don't love me, so you just
I'm boring.
Like that. There are those cases which are there. But having said so, Amon, there are key drivers. One of the things that has increased this kind of violence, one is social media. It is not true that violence has just come. No, It is only that the platforms of knowing even what is in the bedroom have been increased, that once, if just a simple quarrel, it is on social media. Number two, women, especially women, or actually all people, have found security in the public, that they want the public to give their opinion. And once the public is right, then that means whoever is not agreeing with the public is wrong. That's why you see that somebody has been dating or has been in marriage for the last 15 years, and something small has happened, a woman or a man is posting nude for the fiancé. Now you find it is as if someone has been spying you for the last 15 years and kept this information, that if anything goes wrong on a wrong footing, he will put you to public. Number two is culture. There was means of disciplining, of handling things whenever the family would go wrong on certain issues. Today it is no longer there. Today people are for God and my country. And you can see every weekend, while there are many weddings going on in different churches and all walks of faiths, at the same time there are very many court cases which are going on to cancel marriages. And that was never there before. It was there, but it was always managed at a family level. But today, you find the brother is not in good terms with the brother. The wife is not in good terms with the in-law. The in-law is not in good terms with the brother. It is confusion all over.
Okay.
So then you also brought up, you are talking about the economic empowerment for women. Women have also become politicians in their own families. This thing of equal opportunities you are talking about, I heard you say that women want to be only equal in other things, but once equal
as we talk about,
then there you have provoked them. A woman,
you can see how the two also, the ones I have in the studio, also are joined together to defend that.
I had the Afande and she was on top of it. But let me put you this way. If families are to thrive and really reduce on these violences that are going on, a woman needs to know that is a woman, and a man needs to know that is a man. A woman was created to be loved. A man was created to be respected. Once you respect a man, you get a king out of him.
Okay.
Once you love a woman, you get a queen out of her. Contrary to that, the results will be what we see in the public, and they are not yet about to stop. Then, lastly, if my minutes are over.
No, you still have, but I wanted to engage you on also the mind of the person who chooses violence. Is it about
this matter?
Is it?
I need to bring to your attention that men die alone. Men die alone. When a woman has just been married to a young man of your age, my age, and other people, what a woman finds with a man automatically becomes for the woman. Even when you have a plot and you want to sell it to go for medication or to do something else, the public will come and say, don't sell these things for the children. And the woman will find security.
As a woman consented.
Fronting children that these things you are selling are for the children, don't sell them. Men die when they have properties and are shared at the death. Because women are using children as weapons, front weapons. And the world the society sympathizes with women and children without looking at the efforts and life of a person who has struggled to put these things in place.
Indeed.
Last is corruption. As it is in the country, it is in families, and it is in individual pockets of women's money is women's money, men's money is men's money. You had another question.
Is like for someone to choose violence, is it because of the mental inability, mental disability, or mental disorder? What
both.
really happens?
Both. Mental. Let us define them for the public to know what mental ability and inability means. Mental inability is simply the low capacity, low energy, low efforts to navigate through daily challenges. Mental disability, that is automatically diagnosis. It's a disease. Mental disability is having gaps, lacking some elements in your mind to be able to negotiate phenomena of daily life. Then mental fitness is the people who have mood swings. That now you are okay, so tomorrow you are not okay, in the afternoon, the food you have eaten defines how fit you are to engage in a certain activity or in a certain conversation.
Okay.
Why do some people, what happens in the mind of a human being to choose violence? To them it is not a violence, to them it is a solution.
Okay.
Who defines it to be the violent one? It is that person who looks at it as unbecoming behavior, but the other one is looking for the solution. For example, when a woman is shouting at the man, for the case of a woman, she's after ventilating. When a man chooses to keep quiet, to him is reserved to just to listen or to ignore or not to let his energy be put to something else.
Okay,
so that one is, the response is in human nature.
My guests in the studios have a few questions before we let you go. If we could give them some time. Let me start with Afande.
Yes, I'm arrived.
Afande.
Thank you very much. I want to react on the point of a man owned nothing as long as he is married. That even the plot that you had before getting this woman becomes for the woman and for the children. To me, it's not all about who owns what in the marriage. These whatever you generate together in the marriage belong to both of you, the wife, and then there are the things to support you, then to support your children, because you use what you have to support the children. And once children are above 18 years, then they are no longer children, they are men and women. They can also hustle for their own property, which means whatever you have still comes back to you as a husband and the wife.
Okay.
What Afande is reacting on is not actually anything else rather than moral. I wish to interest her to differentiate between moral and science. Much as the definition of moral is scientifically defined, but there is moral. There are people who are who have got some kind of behaviors. She's coming from the side of moral and law. Here we are talking about science. What does the mind? How does the mind of a violent person compose?
Okay.
To what degree does a person choose violence before peace? I think that's where we are.
Yes.
That is a trigger. A human mind is selfish, and like I have told you, there are people. For example, man goes to drink so that he can get energy to come and provoke a woman. Goes in the bar, takes 3 bottles, comes and confronts a woman. That means he's not the ability. His mental ability is not sharp enough because he cannot stand his ground without influence. You get what I mean?
The lawyer also has a concern.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Brian, for for your submission. When from your expertise and knowledge that you just shared, I can't help but notice one thing. Even when we are using the scientific and psychological bit of everything, we are still stereotyping women. And this is the reason as why actually we have prevalent cases of domestic violence that actually never being resolved, because even when women walk into police stations, they walk into counselors, somehow blame is always put on a woman. But one thing I want you, Brian, to deliberate upon is and you'll probably share your mind as well. I think we both agree that there is no defense to violence. Let it be the woman is quarrelsome, let it be what, because either way violence will not help the situation. Violence will not restore peace in the family. Violence will not put food on the table, so it is not helping. So as psychologists and as people that facilitate mental well-being, how are you approaching this? Because stereotyping is very much there, and how are you approaching it? Thank you.
Now, the council, I want to thank you for that kind of deliberation. But
if you can use 1 minute, sir.
I want to bring it to your attention, council, that stereotype is part of us. That the way it is in creation. Who was created first? Who came last? That was enough to set the pace of stereotyping. What is much needed is decency. Not to look at a woman as something that doesn't matter, or not to look at a man as something that matters most, but trying to give respect and understanding each other, not bringing families are not built on conspiracy theory. There are principles that build families and societies. 1 is respect, 2, economic empowerment, 3, supporting each other, 4, understanding one another, and give decorum to the behaviors that one must exhibit. But below that standard, what we see, because even if we discuss these things, harmony and the people in the studio, is that the more we discuss them, the more they continue to happen. Okay. It makes our discussion irrelevant. That means we are missing a gap in facing the world as it is.
Our time is not on our side. If you can give your last comment, sir.
My last comment is that stereotyping is not an insult. That's number 1. Number 2, and lastly, is that we need to pay close attention to our mental abilities. I can able tell you, I have moved in and out Africa. I've paid keen attention, I've done research. Many or majority of us have got mental issues that we use as business, we use as strength, but when actually they are our weaknesses and our answer to our living and the social behaviors existence.
All right. Thank you, Brian and Netway, for being part of UBC Ground Zero today and for sharing such important information to the people of Uganda.
Thank you for having me, Amon.
All right. That was Brian Alnetwe, is a psychologist and helping us delve into the mind of someone who chooses violence against peace. Ladies in the studio, so I would love us to talk about conjugal rights. Avandi just mentioned it, and when a man and woman come together, they become one. But also the body of the other belongs to the man, and the man's body belongs to. I am fully entitled to your body and to enjoy those conjugal rights anywhere, anytime, and yes, anytime. But in most cases, as I find you put it right, sometimes women tend to deny these rights to their husbands. What should be the best way to handle this in a marriage to bring about peace, not violence?
Thank you, Amon. As you have put it, that women tend to deny their husbands. You could be right, and then on the other side wrong. Do you know that there are women who are also denied conjugal rights? But we look at the side of the man, actually. When a man comes and says, hey, my wife, we have spent a week, a month, everyone will say, what? Are you sure? How can it happen? How can she deny you? How long have you spent in marriage? Yet, there are also women who are being denied. So, it cuts across on the side of the man and then the side of the woman. I think it all comes back to mutual understanding. Understand your partner. If today I've said no, have you tried to understand why I have said no? Have you really taken that initiative? Because there are reasons as to why I've said today I'm not in position to do what your body feels like. But we do not look into that. We just look at she has refused. But there are reasons. The same applies to the man.
There can't be reasons for today, tomorrow, a week, and a month, and a year, you know? Then there seems to be something different.
Yes.
It is denial this time.
Yes. Of course, when it keeps on recurring, still you need to find out. Before even you make it so public, before you share with others, first sit with your wife, sit with your husband, and find out, why has it taken a month? What is the reason? Why has she
What if she tells you I'm not okay, and that okay sometimes has no explanation?
There is no not okay that has no explanation. There always a reason as to why someone has acted the way she or he acts. There are reasons.
Nagawa, do I really to ask for my conjugal rights? Do I need to ask from my wife that I need really to sleep with you? Because by the time we agreed on the time I proposed and I took you to church or mosque and wedded you, there and then your body belonged to me. I do not need to ask.
Amon, I would like to draw you to the reality of the law, and this may come as a shocker to you. Usually what we consider right as human beings is it's not legal. And I think I'll share a case law with you. The position of the law is that consent at marriage is not absolute. It's not ongoing. You cannot say that after all I said I do, your body is mine, then it is going to be like that every day of your life. No, that is not the position of the law. Secondly, when you look at section, I think it's 5 or 6 of the Domestic Violence Act, it says consent to domestic violence does not justify it. So, okay, yes, my body may be yours and what, but I have not consented to sexual interface on that particular day, but it still happens. That doesn't mean that it is right. It is still wrong, because there is no justification, as I said earlier, to violence. There was no saying I paid your bride price, I took you to church. It is still wrong. It is still illegal, regardless of what we think about it.
We are married. You are entitled to justify me in that way, and by you asking or needing me to keep on asking, you're turning me into a beggar and so vulnerable in this marriage.
Remember what I told you about equal rights in the marriage? Yes, exactly. I'll keep on referring to that we are expecting an equal relationship, a relationship of understanding and mutuality. And as I said, the law is very clear. The law is often different from what we reasonable men and women perceive. So consent, one-time consent, doesn't mean it is not ongoing consent. Consent needs to be sought at every stage in a sexual relationship. That is the position of the law that I cannot, neither you or I cannot change.
Interesting. This is UBC Radio and also live and clear on Butebo Radio, on Magic 100 FM and on Western Nile FM. We're also streaming live on YouTube. You just put UBC Ground Zero and you'll be part of this conversation. 0701 24 26 47 is the number that you can call and be part of this conversation. We're also trying to get in touch with Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, the RDC of Obongi District, to update us on what really takes place in places, in some places in Uganda when we're out of Kampala or the urban centers. I'll read these messages as we wait for the RDC to be on. Ben says we have we have the RDC. Hello.
Yes.
You're live and clear on UBC Ground Zero.
Oh yes.
We are talking about gender-based violence, and we are looking at wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda. We are thinking of what is the mechanism that we can opt for as a country to address this challenge, as we are preparing for 16 days of activism, and we'll have to know what really takes place in the other districts when we get out of Kampala.
Yes. First of all, in Obongi district found in West Nile, that is in the Madisab region, cases of gender-based violence are many, and they are on the increase. We have too many cases of early marriages. We have too many cases of defilement. Almost every day we get reports of gender-based violence, and this is men beating up their wives. And we have a lot of child marriages, and through these child marriages you find there is a lot of gender-based violence. The young ladies are intimidated, they are tortured, they are beaten, and once beaten they are not even supposed to talk. You are not supposed to report that your husband has beaten you. I have one of these particular cases when I had gone to St. Luke's Church in Aliba sub-county. I was confronted by a young lady aged about 16 years. She came running saying, "Are you the RDC?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I have a problem." I said, "What is the problem?" "I was married at 13 years. My husband is called Mandela. She's a boda rider in Obongi town. And he keeps on beating me. And the reason he beats me, one of the reasons is that I am not producing. Since she married me at 13 years, she paid Kasurube to my parents. Kasurube is the bride price. And after paying the bride price, I now belong to him as a property. And because I've failed to produce, he keeps on beating me, torturing me, and then he goes away for a week or two. When he comes back, he starts by beating me, torturing me, and I don't even have food. And I am a Christian, but they married me in a Muslim family. And so she told me a case where she reported to police. Police gave her a form to fill and then took it to the health center for, checkup, the extent of beating. So she told me when she was coming out of the health center, the same husband followed her, beat her, tore the papers, and told her to go back home. So as I was talking to her, she kept on looking left and right, saying the husband keeps on monitoring her. She even said she wanted to enter the church. It was a Sunday, and she said she could not enter because she fears once she enters, the husband is going to find her and beat her up, to the point of even death. The girl disappeared immediately. We have very many of such cases. Then we have other cases of widows. When a widow dies, she's inherited automatically by the husbands. And, after being inherited, it also becomes another problem. She's tortured. She has no right to speak. She has no right to even say anything in that household. I had again another particular case because it is also rampant among widows of UPDF soldiers. There is a lady who came to me one time with a very small baby, and at first thought she was carrying something like a cat, but it was a baby so small. She told me her story of how the husband died, and after the husband had died, she had over 10 million. The husband had 10 million on the account. The brother-in-law withdrew all the money and only gave her 180,000 for the 6 children they had with the deceased. So later she says the same brother-in-law went ahead and raped her because they said that he said she was their property. So he raped her. That is how she became pregnant. And after becoming pregnant, she had wanted to go and report to police. He told her not to tell anybody. He was going to give her land. So this brother-in-law, who is even a step brother-in-law, disappeared. He's a teacher. He disappeared to Arua, and after disappearing to Arua, the man went ahead and got the pension and gratuity of the late husband. So she told me she did not even have breast milk because she doesn't eat, and that's why the baby was too tiny. So I quickly referred her to police to open a case, and once we opened the case, I was accused of tampering with the culture of the people here, saying, since when did women start reporting, their husbands or their in-laws to police about such a case? And indeed, I even ended up going ahead to instruct police to inform police in Arua to have the man, arrested. So those are the continued cases. There was another one again where it was a UPDF man who died, and then the widow, they denied her everything. She had a boda motorcycle which would bring her 10,000 per day. The brother-in-law withdrew it, and he was now the one, in charge of the money for this border. So I had again to refer the matter to police. Then we got the border and gave it back to the widow.
Right.
But again, I was accused of tampering with the culture of the people in the West Nile. So we have too many cases of domestic violence, of gender-based violence, and all of them, by over 99%, they are done by the husbands on their women and then against the widows. So what we are trying to do is trying to do some sensitization, but as you do the sensitization, you realize that the people are not bothered on changing that culture of beating up their wives, beating up their women, and then you find another dangerous culture which we have here is of men marrying more than one woman. And once a man does it, you are not supposed to question why he has done it. And at around mid-20s, you find a lady has about 6 to 7 children, and that one is declared an old woman, and the man has to go for a younger wife who is below 18 years. So it is so terrible and too much that maybe we would need to get like partners, NGOs like Mifumi, who helped me in Tororo one time, where I also had very many cases of gender-based violence, which includes one I will never forget, where a man came, beat up the wife, told her to drink alcohol, yet she was saved, and after she tested to save her life, the man broke a bottle, cut her private parts, got paraffin, burnt her private parts. We intervened. After intervening, the matter became a police case, and the family opened a case against me, saying that I was tampering with the culture of the Japadola. So we also need the same thing here in Obongi, where the rights of the women are being violated through gender-based violence, and also through cases of children not being taken to school, especially the girl child.
Someone sent in a message and said alcohol is one of the key causes of gender-based violence. Have we had any cases emanating from that, and what are you doing as the district leadership to make sure that people remain sober?
Yeah, it has happened. Here we also have cases of alcoholism causing gender-based violence. It happens, and of course when it happens, we have to refer it to police. And of course the challenge now I have in my district of Obongi is having a non-functioning, acting OCCID, who says for me he's going to retire in February next year, so there is no need for him to even tackle some of these cases because he doesn't, being from the region, he says for him he doesn't want to cause problems for himself.
So he has already retired.
Actually, he has retired himself, although he's still at the job, but it's a big problem. He's under investigation, and that's where you get frustrated with the government systems, because this is a matter we reported about 4 months ago when he said for him he had already retired, although he was still at the job, and you'll find, their procedures, so do they have to come and investigate? He's an officer with 3 stars, an officer of 3 stars, you don't have to remove him like that, you have to have a committee to sit, decide, investigate. So that is the main challenge we get. Even just yesterday, I got several cases of the same. Okay. Because I knew at the police level in the district, they are not handled, I had to call the regional CID, who said you start referring the cases to the region.
All right.
And Moyo is about 65 kilometers away. And if you are to handle a case at the police level, it means people have to walk or put in money. And those abused mostly are the women who don't have the money. And you want them to walk about 70 kilometers to take their cases to the region, just simply because we have a system that, operates in a slow motion. Because I even advised them and told them now, since you are saying he's a big officer, can you assign somebody to be handling some of these cases so that we can see fairness taking place? But they said, we have to keep on keeping on and going through that bureaucracy. So at that level, we are really very, very frustrated.
We pray that that case really ends up very well, and for the security of that place too. Yes. I have in the studios, I have 2 ladies, a police officer and also a lawyer who would love to also ask you a few questions before you go.
It's okay.
Lorna?
Thank you so much, Eman. And Mr. RDC, mine is not a question, but I want to give you some legal guarantee. Under our constitution, we have a provision that provides for these negative cultures that are repugnant to the fundamental rights expressed in the Constitution. In other words, any other custom or culture that is in contravention of this Constitution is null and void to the extent of its inconsistency. What does this mean? This means no one can actually have a valid suit against you for opposing negative culture. That is not right, because this culture is, first of all, it violates Article 33 on the rights of women. It also violates right to privacy and all these other rights, right to life and everything therein. So let them not scare you, because however sacred your culture may be, as long as it is in contravention of the Constitution, it is null and void. And secondly, I'd like to interest you in the work that WPI, the Women's Pro Bono Initiative, has done. We ran a project where we end teenage pregnancies and child marriages in most of these areas. And what we sometimes actually do, we go and effect arrest, because sometimes we report to the police station and nothing goes on. So we get a police officer, we report this case, we do following up, and while we are at it, we do community awareness. Because I remember, I think it was a few months back, I was in Palisa, and when we told them, we went to the home where the girl had been married off, and we told the people, her in-laws, that you're here, but you have a 16-year-old as a wife. They were like, what? Are you sure she is 16? We didn't know. So that showed me one thing, that in many of these communities, they do not know, and they really need mindset change programs and awareness. So I think as advocates, we should not tire in our work, and we should keep reaching out and breaking all these stigmas and vices in society.
I found it. Like you're saying, of course it is illegal, but the challenge I have, like I've said, is I'm so frustrated at the police level, where I have an OCCID who has declared that he'll never do anything, which even said in the district security committee meeting, we have a particular case that took place again in the district, where a gentleman was looking through social media. He saw pictures, nude pictures of her own daughter. So he picks interest in the matter and discovered the so-called husband who had done it, who was a lover to the daughter, had decided to put the nude pictures on the social media. So when the matter went to court, by then I still had a good OCCID, Mr. Ogwal Mike, When the matter went to police court in Moyo, the father of this girl was arrested and put in on the orders of the magistrate. So we had to pick particular interest in this matter up to when the man was released on the after being put in on the orders of the magistrate. And then maybe another challenge we have, in Obongi there is no state prosecutor or state attorney. In Obongi there is no prison. In Obongi, that's how we are.
No prison.
We're just, yes, we don't have a prison, we don't have a state attorney, we don't have, so that's how we are.
How are you able to operate as a district?
Of course, it becomes very, very terrible.
Okay.
Like in this case where I have a non-performing OCCID, it even becomes even more, funny, because at times they are found of even, taking empty files to Moyo, because that's where the state sits. And, so it is so frustrating. And since the legal person is there, I would ask you to really help us and maybe get us like a partner who can come and help us.
Okay.
And since the police officer is also in the studios,
And
I also want to...
and she has also a question for you.
Okay, please.
Afande Anet.
Thank you very much, Ravisi. I want to thank you for the endeavors to support the families and then the women according to your deliberation. I want to talk about the culture. Culture is good, and actually the laws respect culture as long as the culture does not violate the laws.
Yeah.
The Constitution respects the cultures as long as the culture does not violate the law. What am I trying to mean? When you look at the forced marriages, the early marriages, you find that the early marriage has caused defilement. Well, it means that the culture, we cannot support the culture where the younger girls are going to be impregnated when they are still young, they are going to be married off, they are going to be forced into marriage, they are going to produce when they are still young, they are going to be out of school because of the culture that you have to marry a younger girl. So, there the culture cannot be supported by the Constitution, the marrying of the widows.
Okay.
I think if there is consent, if my in-law comes after the death of my husband and I'm willing, I have the love for him, I think there is no problem. Well, the problem comes in when I have to be forced to again get married to him.
All right. RDC, Anet, you still continue?
Yeah.
In seconds, please. Our time is not. On our side.
Then he also commented on the issue of marrying young women when you are elderly. I think actually this is a very big cause of domestic violence. Elderly men have resorted to marrying young women. You find a man is in the 60s, 50s, and then he gets younger in 20s, 30s. And when we go back to our conjugal rights, this man is unable to meet the desires of this woman, and then this woman is going to move on and look for her age mate, and again it's going to cause more issues in the home. So I urge men really to let us value our age and respect ourselves.
You way forward, RDC.
I wanted her, as I go to the way forward, to comment about the fact that I have a non-active OCCID who has already retired yet is still on the job. What can be done about that?
I think we shall have to say this with the CID headquarters about that issue, and then it will be handled at a strategic level.
Thank you.
Okay, your way forward, RDC.
Yeah, as a way forward, I wanted us to really put our heads together. We have joint efforts to fight against gender-based violence, which is so common, by the way, in some of these districts that we looked at as rural sort of districts. At least in the urban setting, you find you even have a family protection unit. So I wanted you as the police to help us in this district so that we can have a vibrant family protection unit. And again, we need to source for lobby maybe investors like Mifumi. I remember Mifumi played a big part when I was in Tororo in around 2007-8 there. Okay. So we need them to come and help us, but we need a vibrant family protection unit so that we are able to fight these cases, and also doing the sensitization. This week as Obongi, we've been having the annual cultural gala, and we had the Prime Minister of the Lugbara Kali, who came and again brought it up. This culture of marrying off these young girls, the culture of beating up the women as if they are cows. Even cows these days are not beaten the way women are beaten. So that is the way to go. Sensitization, enforcement, and I hope the two officers in the studios, beginning with the legal expert, will help us get us a partner to come and help us in some of these cases. On the police case, like she has, the police officer, like she has said, please take it up as a matter of urgency, because people are now resorting to mob justice because of the fact that we have a non-functional CID in the district who has openly told us he's not answerable to the RDC, he's not answerable to the DPC, for him he's answerable to the director CID, full stop.
All right.
Thank you.
Most welcome, and we must thank you also for being part of UBC Ground Zero today.
You're welcome.
God bless you.
Thank you.
That was Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, the RDC of Ubongi district, enlightening the country about a number of issues coming from Ubongi district and many other places around. 0776511426. Time is really not on a side, but I can pick 2 to 3 calls and read your messages as we wrap up this conversation. UBC?
Yes, hello.
You are live and clear.
Yes, this is David from Soroti.
Yes, David.
Let me first give thanks to those people who are inside. They're really sensitizing the nation and making Uganda to move forward in a good way. But there are 3 things which are causing gender-based violence. One, there is this situation whereby the government, the NGOs, and every CBOs within the community, they come and they empower only the girls. Not forgetting that these girl children, they are empowering. One day they will grow into their adult stage and they will deserve to be married. And every woman deserves love, created to be loved by men. But you leave these young men or the young boys in the villages and in the society, you don't empower them. But at the end of the day, these girls whom you empower will get married to this boy.
An empowered boy.
Who are not
empowered.
They are raw. They don't know what to do. What they know only is to drink alcohol.
All right.
Everywhere you go, they are drinking. But now after them getting influenced by the alcohol, they get misunderstanding. They have their own face from the what? From the drink place. They take that for home. That is one biggest thing.
The last one.
Let us also empower boys so that when they get married, they will protect their marriage.
Okay.
Then the second one.
And the last one.
The last one from the book of Proverbs in the Bible, in chapter 9, verse 9. It is lack of vision, dreams and vision. If you are going for marriage, what is your vision? What is your mission? What is your dream as you are going for marriage?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Raised up in a well-cultured family, raised up in a Christian way, the same way to men also. Get a girl who is raised up in a Christian family.
Thank you.
And well-cultured. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, David, and greetings to the people of Soroti.
Amen.
UBC Ground Zero, wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda. If I may read some of the messages, someone, Oroin says poverty is still key as long as we have not addressed these economic empowerment strategies and mechanisms. As long as people are still poor, we shall still have a gender-based violence. Ground Zero.
Yes, I'm on.
You're live and clear.
Thank you very much.
Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Juma calling from the best roundabout Busega.
Hey, Juma, long time.
Long time to you as well.
Okay.
I'm glad we are back.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much and for the panelists with you there. Good morning.
Good morning.
For me, engagement of the community stakeholders, the government, the cultural and the religious leaders are not enough. We have a huge gap. There are some sections, sometimes community tend to run away from it, leaving it government alone to tackle them, and yet for our own benefit. So now, gender-based violence, it should not be considered only one side. Maybe men, they are the only one who are violent to their homes. It cuts across. Work ethic. Some of the citizens, they have work which may not allow them to be in time at home. I tell you, when you go culturally, it might be violating the right of a man. This is when you're talking about the other side of the lady. As well as men. Some of us, now Premier League champions they are on, it will be our excuses to represent our affairs at home, which is also we are violating the right of our women. So now what do we do? My first thing goes to these probation officers. Your police, you tend to be not worthy at the greater percentage. Once when a man is the one like a culprit, the way you handle cases of domestic violence is questionable.
Okay.
Someone has divorced last week. Now again, the following week has brought in another lady, but you will never hear any concern. That how comes? Then when it comes to the negativity, you will find that since this man has money, he will be bailed out before sorting his initial problems.
Okay. Thank you,
we need
sir.
counseling teams to get engaged with the community, cultural leaders, religious leaders. It is a chain. Let us come together to fight all this together. Thank you so much, Amon.
I'm welcome, my brother, and we're glad that you are back on UBC Ground Zero. UBC Ground Zero, live on 4 radio stations and also streaming live on YouTube. Concerns from the people of Uganda. Lynette from Lila, you say alcoholism. I think I had ever read this to the RDC. Alcoholism is the key for both parties. I mean, females and also males. They lose their minds and opt for violence because they can't control themselves. Ben, you're listening in from Iganga. You say sexual violence is indeed serious as long as men still beg for sex from their wives. Gender-based violence is not likely to end today or even tomorrow. Let me go back to the studios of UBC for the way forward on a number of issues: alcoholism, drug abuse, poverty, and many others. Let's start with drug abuse, and I'll start with police. What do you think needs to be done?
Thank you very much. On the issue of drug abuse, actually these days it's not only the men but even the women have engaged themselves in drug abuse. Drug abuse, alcohol by the way is inclusive as long as you have not taken it appropriately. As long as it goes beyond your head capacity to control, then you are going to become a nuisance and you will not be able to manage the home affairs of your family. So I urge you to the public that let us desist from anything that destabilizes our mind, that disorganizes our capacity to understand the alcohol, the marijuanas, anything anything, as long as you know that it's going to destabilize your mind. Please let us desist from it.
Rana, Nagawa, drug abuse.
Thank you so much.
As lawyers, do you have any solutions to this apart from taking people to court?
I want to point you, Amon, to a unique aspect of the Women's Pro Bono Initiative. Yes, we are an organization of lawyers, but we are still civil society. And one of the things that civil society work is involved in is awareness and mindset change, which is one of the reasons as to why we are here. So we have very many programs, and we intend to keep these programs going, where we go into these communities on top of providing the legal advice, but we also teach people. We teach them, and we usually work with police, and we also work with social scientists and psychologists. So matters of drug abuse, yes, it is illegal, but we also believe that someone needs to be rehabilitated and reformed. So we are doing a mindset. I feel like I know, I not only feel, but I know that mindset programs is one of the ways that we're going to have to change, because most of these vices are entrenched, like we've soaked into them for a very long time. So we need to assist in that will slowly pull us out of there. And then secondly, we as lawyers, we have informed a number of policies on gender-based violence. I remember we contributed to the engagements that were made by the Uganda Law Reform Commission when they were drafting this Domestic Violence Act that I was citing from. So we believe that once we give government perspective, an advocate's perspective of the cases we've handled, the prevalence in societies, we could really come up with a law that is not only punitive, but it is also reformative and rehabilitative to the citizens.
Let's talk about sexual violence. What's the way forward to this? Afande?
So, sexual violence, to me, it's really understanding each other when it comes to marriage, and then to the children. Of course, that is now the defilement majorly, whereby the young girls have been engaged by the elders, and that is a crime. And as I earlier said, a crime remains a crime. We shall take you on. There is no negotiation, there is no bargaining. And anyone caught wanting to sit into matters of defilement outside police, outside court, you are also taken on. Whether you're a parent, you're a guardian, you're an LOC, that is crime.
Okay.
So we have to take you on.
All right. A lawyer?
Mine is not going to differ so much from a Afande's perspective. You know, the unique aspect about the criminal justice system is when you commit a crime, it is not between you and that person. It is between you and the state. The state takes you on. So yes, God forbid, you may rape me. I may forgive you, but the state will not. That's also one thing that I think our people need to know, and our listeners, crime is always crime against the state. So when it comes to sexual violence, Amon, I don't want us to only look at sex between husband and wife. We also have sex between husband and house help. We also have sex between stepfather and stepdaughter. All this is sexual violence in a domestic setting. So it is not justified at any level. Be it with your wife, be it with the girl that helps around at home, be it with a teenager or someone. It is not justified at any level. So when it comes to sexual violence, the law is very punitive. Under our Penal Code Act, you're going to be imprisoned for defilement, for rape, and other matters that follow through. But also, one thing that I think we need to also invest in as a country is we need to invest in a quicker judicial system to dispense these matters. Because imagine we have a case of defilement being dragged on for 10 years. By the time you're even done, the survivor is grown up, she probably is even married, and now you're bringing up the case, the stigma is continuing, the discomfort is heightened. So I really, I would call upon and appeal to government. Let's come up with a quicker judicial system to provide remedies in cases of sexual violence. You know, this has been done in the commercial court. Gone are the days where we used to have commercial cases dragged on in case for years. The commercial court quickly dispenses these things. So I do recommend that this is also buried into the criminal justice system. We could have a special court of these special cases where they are expediently dealt with.
A number of institutions and platforms are so much empowering the girl child more than the boy child. But we forget that, as David put it right from Soroti, that empowering a girl who will meet an empowered boy in the future is also a cause to gender-based violence. Way forward for this.
I would love to draw your attention, Amon, to the fact that you are a man, right? And you are in this studio. I believe you're here out of competence and potential systems of our country that have brought you to this place, the education, the healthcare. So I really don't buy into the argument of leaving boy children behind. Yes, it may be there in some circumstances, but the state has provided equal opportunities. We all get the same education in UPE, USE, university. If you qualify, you can go. So the point is, we are not leaving boy children. There is still enough, and you are an example. You've come this far. So that means we still have men that are empowered. So I would really not say that, well, we are leaving boy children. The systems in place are enough to have them empowered. The only reason as to why extra emphasis is put on the women is because the patriarchy has termed them as inferior. And that leaves us no option other than lifting them up and giving them an extra push.
Afande, when I realized that my partner is turning into violent according to the tone of his voice and also the physical expressions, we are talking about physical violence from emotional and psychological violence. What do I do when I see shaking has taken place, throwing objects at me and slapping? What do I do in order to bring peace, not violence?
Your question, let me re-echo on what our legal officers just said on the empowerment of the girl child, leaving out the boy child. When you look at the ancient times, culture defined women as inferiors, as domestic workers, people to, produce, cook food, be home, take care of the animals. And that's when now the governments are coming up to say, no, even a girl child is a human being, has equal rights just as a boy child. If a boy child is going to school, let a girl child also go to school. If a boy child if you grow up and you have to get jobs, even this girl child has to get that job. It's not that the boy child has been left out. It's because the girl child is marginalized. They are looked at as people who should, the moment you grow up, have breasts, start your piece. What comes to the mind of the parents is marriage, which is not really so good. So that's why programs, NGOs, the government has really come out to push the girl child. Now, the boy child, let us again not sit back. that now the girl child has been put on the front. They have been supported. They are in now government positions. They are working. Let us ignore. Let us all play our role. Now, when it comes to domestic violence, what should we do? If a husband beats you, if your wife beats you, what should you do? I think, as you mentioned earlier, creating space is very, very good. You know, what is important in marriage, I'm going to sum up the remedies in these 4 categories. 1, we need to know our responsibilities.
As your rest comments.
We need to know our responsibilities as a woman, know your responsibilities as a man. Once that one is known, we shall not have quarrels. Know your obligations. What are you supposed to do? What are you not supposed to do in the home? Know your rights and let each of you know each other's obligations, rights, and responsibilities, freedoms. Once we get to know that, I'm telling you, we shall have no domestic violence in our homes, and we shall create a peaceful environment for our children.
Interesting. Lawyer?
My final remarks would be appealing to the citizens of Uganda, to the government of Uganda, all relevant stakeholders, to break gender stereotypes. You realize we're talking about gender-based violence because a certain gender is being violated. So and at least we all agree that most of these are women. So I would really appeal, following the theme of the 16 days of activism this year, the theme is Unite, invest in measures that are against violence against women. So I would really appeal that let's break these gender stereotypes. Let's not think that since you married a woman, paid her bride price, then she's entitled to do this. Let's not think that police officers, let's not think that when a case is brought to a woman, obviously she's the one who shouted, she's the one who followed him. You see, all these are the kinds of mindsets and the kinds of perceptions that are taking on gender-based violence. And it's rendering all our efforts pointless, because if we're trying to fight gender-based violence, but we still have a society that still thinks that women are very provocative, it's the woman, the problem is with the woman, then we are not going anywhere. We are an equal society. At least our constitution guarantees that equality, opportunities, and equal opportunities at all levels. So I think let's also initiate that in our thinking as Ugandans and in our work as we bring about the various social changes. Thank you.
Welcome. We will not thank you for sparing time to come and educate, inform, and inspire the people of Uganda. We have been discussing wearing a human face amidst gender-based violence in Uganda, and we've been talking about a number of issues and also discussing way forward, what needs to be done to reduce gender-based violence. Poverty, make sure that you get money, because if you still remain poor, you are likely to experience or sip on the cup of gender-based violence. Also, we talked about drug abuse. Leave alcohol or take that little that you know that will not bring you problems. We also addressed cultural practices. Let's desist from other marriages, and also when you pay bride price, it is not that you have paid that person as a property, but is there as a partner and also your lover. Sexual violence, we have also heard it from the guests that men, you should start requesting, and also if it means begging, then you have to beg for that right to bring peace in that marriage. We also talked about a number of issues, and we were privileged to have a number of guests in the studios of VBC. We had Rona Nagawa, legal officer from Men's Pro Bono Initiative. Thank you for being part of us today. And we also had SSP Kwagala Anet, who is the CFPO coming from Jinja Road Police Station. And we also had Brian Elnaitwe, who is the psychologist that we engaged online. And also we had Samuel Mpimbaza Hashaka, the RDC of Obongi district, also telling us what really takes place in other districts outside Kampala, capital city. I've been working with a very big team and very influential team, technical team, Hirade Katurebe and Bob Brian Mugisha and Alne Itwe on the camera, and also big privilege to have Simenta Aren, producer, Doreen Ndezi, executive producer, and our program officer Frank Yiga, and all the station managers and also administrators of Butebo Radio, Western Nile Radio, and Magic 100 FM. This is UBC Ground Zero, and this brings us to the end of today's discussion. We thank you, and many other programs are coming your way in those radio stations. You can always follow this conversation on YouTube. Just enter UBC Ground Zero, and you'll be you'll be able to access this content, all these programs. And also we have a repeat on Sunday, every Sunday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Ampere Amonoptega is my name, and this is UBC. Until next time, same station, same program, perhaps a different topic. For God and my country, allow me to sign out.
That was Ground Zero Season 2.